Oh, my dearest friends, have you ever felt it? That chilling moment when you walk into a room only to stand there, utterly bewildered, wondering what on earth brought you there. Perhaps you've reached for the name of a beloved grandchild, only to find it stubbornly lodged just beyond your reach, a ghost on the tip of your tongue. Or maybe, when settling down with a cherished book, you realize you've reread the same paragraph 3, 4, even 5 times, the words simply refusing to stick. If these moments resonate with you, if you've sensed your precious memories, your sharp wit, your very essence, beginning to flicker like a dwindling candle flame, then you absolutely must stay with me. Because I know precisely how that feels. I've lived it. I was 85 years old when I truly began to forget. Simple tasks became mental hurdles, and the world I cherished seemed to be slowly slipping from my grasp. The frustration was immense, the fear even greater. Everyone, bless their hearts, told me it was normal, just a part of getting older. They urged me to accept this new reality, but a stubborn part of my spirit, a flame that refused to be extinguished, simply couldn't. I refused to spend my golden years lost in a fog, disconnected from my loved ones, or living in fear that each sunrise would steal another precious fragment of who I am. Then, in an almost serendipitous moment, I heard a doctor in an interview discussing a collection of everyday foods that held a remarkable secret for brain health. Not some futuristic miracle pill or an exotic, unpronounceable formula, but humble, natural foods. Ingredients that have been a part of our lives for generations. Foods that, as it turned out, could provide our brains with exactly what they needed to thrive, even at an advanced age. Intrigued, and with nothing left to lose, I decided to give it a try. My expectations were modest, to say the least, yet something truly transformative began to unfold. Gradually, imperceptibly at first, my mind started to clear. The constant search for misplaced items became less frequent. I found myself recalling conversations with vivid detail and precision. The most profound change, however, was a feeling of reawakening. I felt present again, truly and completely. It was as if my mind, which I feared had abandoned me, had returned home. In this heartfelt message, I want to share with you, my treasured audience, the 5 remarkable foods I incorporated into my daily life, alongside a few small adjustments to my routine that profoundly revitalized my memory and, by extension, my entire way of living. Please understand, I am not a medical professional, but I am a living testament to the power of these changes. I'll also explore the scientific backing for these choices, empowering you to make informed decisions for your own well-being. This isn't a promise of an empty miracle, but rather an invitation to embrace small, consistent daily choices that hold the potential to change absolutely everything. My journey into the fog of forgetfulness began with subtle nudges, easily dismissed as trivial. Initially, I'd explain away forgetting names, keys, or appointments as mere senior moments, a natural consequence of the passing years. Yet, the occurrences grew more frequent, the details more concerning. I distinctly recall the day I spent nearly an hour searching for my keys, frantically checking every conceivable spot, pockets, kitchen counters, even the refrigerator, only to find them resting peacefully on my nightstand, precisely where they always belonged. While I forced a laugh, an undeniable alarm bell echoed within me. This escalated to repetitive conversations. I'd be midway through a beloved story from my youth, only for my granddaughter to gently remind me, with a mixture of kindness and patience, "Grandpa, you told me that yesterday." Each time, a pang of hurt, a deep frustration, settled within me, because I genuinely had no recollection of having spoken those words before. How could I be so certain of what I was about to say, yet utterly blank about having already said it? This growing pattern of forgetfulness led me to shy away from prolonged conversations, fearing the humiliation of losing my train of thought mid-sentence, or simply drawing a blank. Sometimes, I'd forget the day of the week, or find myself standing in a room utterly devoid of purpose, without the faintest memory of why I had entered it. But the deepest anguish wasn't just the forgetfulness, it was the chilling sensation of a slow, irreversible disconnection from myself, as if the very fibers of my identity were unraveling. My memory wasn't just a function, it was the repository of my life's narrative, my pivotal choices, my cherished loves. It was me. To feel it recede was akin to watching a loved one disappear into the distance, powerless to intervene. This ignited a profound fear within me, fear of becoming a burden, of forgetting the faces dearest to me, of ultimately losing who I was. And coupled with this fear was shame, the quiet humiliation of seeming confused or out of step. So I retreated into silence, pretending everything was perfectly fine, a performance that only deepened my sense of isolation. It was during this low point, when I honestly believed there were no more avenues to explore, that I made a firm decision to try absolutely everything. While conventional wisdom and even some scientific perspectives suggest that cognitive decline is an inevitable companion to aging, I resolved to actively resist this notion, not to reclaim the vitality of my younger days, but to preserve the essence of who I was, right here, right now. And surprisingly, this profound journey began with one seemingly insignificant change, a small adjustment that ultimately redefined everything. When I finally ceased my pretense and confronted my diminishing memory head-on, I took the difficult but necessary step of scheduling an appointment with my primary care physician. It wasn't an easy decision. We often harbor the belief that we should be able to navigate life's challenges independently. However, I had reached a crucial turning point where the persistent brain fog, the nagging forgetfulness, and that unsettling sense of mental disconnection had transcended mere isolated incidents, becoming a pervasive part of my daily existence. The doctor received me with warmth, inquiring about my symptoms, meticulously reviewing my medical history, and conducting a series of straightforward tests designed to assess memory, attention, and language. I tried my best to answer, yet some questions left me entirely blank, while others elicited slow, hesitant responses. His demeanor remained calm, but he did not offer the reassuring words I desperately longed to hear. He explained that there were no definitive indicators of Alzheimer's or advanced dementia. Instead, he delivered a gentler, more nuanced diagnosis: mild cognitive impairment. He elaborated that this condition is quite common at my age and doesn't inherently worsen, yet he also admitted there's no singular cure. His recommendations were familiar: keep mentally engaged with crosswords, read more, and prioritize social interactions. He encouraged new hobbies, anything to challenge my mind in novel ways. We also discussed the importance of quality sleep, daily physical activity, stress reduction, and naturally, vigilant monitoring for any exacerbation of symptoms. When I inquired about medication, he acknowledged their availability but didn't recommend them for my particular situation, citing potentially strong side effects and benefits that, in his words, aren't always as clear as we'd like. I departed his office that day grappling with a complex blend of relief and frustration. Relief that it wasn't a more severe condition, but profound frustration because, deep down, his message echoed, "This is simply part of aging, and you must accept it." But I was unwilling to merely keep active and hope for the best. I craved improvement, not just maintenance. I wasn't searching for miracles, but for clarity, for the return of my memory, for that palpable sense of truly being present. It was then, driven by this resolute desire, that I began my own independent research. I steered clear of fanciful magic cures or impossible remedies, instead grounding my inquiry in the fundamental: my diet. If what we consume impacts every cell in our body, why wouldn't it profoundly affect our brain? This pivotal question marked the true genesis of a journey that, step by deliberate step, began to restore what I had once believed was irretrievably lost. One tranquil afternoon, without actively seeking anything specific, I stumbled upon a video featuring a retired neurologist discussing the intricacies of brain aging. Her words resonated deeply within me. What you eat not only nourishes your body, it nourishes your mind, and if you choose wisely, you can empower your memory to stay with you longer. This sparked a profound curiosity within me. I plunged into a sea of articles, devoured talks, and diligently sought out scientific studies. I wasn't chasing illusory miracle formulas, but rather tangible, actionable insights. Amidst all my discoveries, one food repeatedly surfaced as an exceptionally powerful ally for brain health: blueberries. Yes, those unassuming little fruits I had often overlooked in the grocery aisles for years. It turns out blueberries are veritable powerhouses of antioxidants, particularly compounds known as flavonoids, more precisely, anthocyanins, which are responsible for their vibrant deep blue hue. These potent substances actively combat oxidative stress, a primary culprit in the gradual damage to our precious neurons over time. A study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry demonstrated that older adults who consumed blueberries daily for 12 weeks exhibited notable enhancements in both short-term memory and learning capacity. Furthermore, research at the University of Exeter revealed that a daily intake of concentrated blueberry juice significantly improved cognitive function, blood flow to the brain, and brain activation in healthy older adults over a 12-week period. This isn't merely a fleeting trend. Robust scientific evidence underpins these findings. The most wonderful aspect? You don't need expensive supplements or intricate preparations, just a humble handful each day. I decided to embark on this simple experiment. I purchased a container of fresh blueberries and for several weeks incorporated them into my morning routine, either mixed into plain yogurt or enjoyed on their own as a small, mindful ritual. Initially, the changes were subtle, almost imperceptible. However, by the second week, a distinct shift began. I felt a heightened sense of alertness in the mornings, and my recollections felt less effortful, less clumsy. That persistent mental fog, that pervasive feeling of being somewhat disconnected, steadily began to dissipate. It wasn't an instantaneous transformation, like the flip of a switch, but rather a gradual brightening, as if the previously dimmed lights of my mind were slowly, steadily growing stronger. The most surprising benefit wasn't just the improvement in my memory, but also a remarkable uplift in my overall mood. I felt more energized, more present, as if something deep within me had been wonderfully reawakened. This was merely the beginning, a small, modest fruit, yet with an extraordinary impact. From that moment, I understood I had to continue my exploration. If a single food could achieve so much, what profound possibilities awaited if I were to embrace additional allies in my journey. Upon committing myself seriously to reclaiming my memory, I quickly realized that sporadic, healthy meals simply wouldn't suffice. The true secret lay in establishing a consistent routine, what you diligently practice every single day without fail, for it is this unwavering consistency that ultimately reshapes both your body and your mind. So, I started with the foundational meal of the day, breakfast. Before, my mornings often consisted of little more than a cup of coffee and perhaps a lonely cookie. This drastically changed. Now my breakfast has become a true nourishment for my brain, with blueberries taking center stage, no longer just an afterthought. My typical morning ritual is wonderfully simple: plain, unsweetened yogurt, generously adorned with a spoonful of chia seeds, a sprinkling of chopped walnuts, and a bountiful handful of fresh blueberries. Occasionally, I'll also add half a ripe banana, offering a natural boost of energy and potassium. This takes me less than 5 minutes to prepare each morning, yet the profound difference in how I feel throughout the day is simply immeasurable. The crucial element was establishing a fixed time. I rise consistently at 8:00 a.m., even on weekends, and ensure my breakfast is enjoyed before 8:30 a.m. No procrastination, no waiting until hunger strikes. Beginning my day with this brain-friendly meal not only keeps me satiated, but also bestows a remarkable mental clarity that lasts all morning. I observed that those unsettling blank moments vanished. Words now flow more easily, ideas connect with greater speed. Even small annoyances, like remembering where I left off in my book the night before, or precisely where my keys were placed, ceased to be problems. One morning, as an example, my grandson called, a little flustered, asking for his mother's phone number, which he'd somehow lost from his own device. In the past, I would have certainly paused, perhaps rifled through old papers, or asked him to wait while I hunted it down. But that day, without a moment's hesitation, the numbers simply came to me, and I recited it from memory with effortless ease, just like in my younger days. That simple moment was profoundly meaningful, not for its grandiosity, but because it served as undeniable proof that I was slowly, steadily regaining something I had thought was lost forever. And the most astonishing part? It wasn't due to a prescription pill or an exorbitant medical treatment, but rather a straightforward, natural, daily routine. Of course, my attention wasn't solely confined to breakfast. I extended this mindful approach to all my meals, reducing sugar, opting for less white bread, embracing more vegetables, and incorporating healthy fats. But that very first meal of the day, that purposeful, nourishing breakfast, was where it all truly began. If you too are experiencing something similar, if you sense your mind isn't quite as sharp as it once was, please do not underestimate the sheer power of a thoughtfully planned dietary routine. It may seem like a small shift, but it has the capacity to create an enormous, life-altering difference. After experiencing the undeniable benefits of blueberries, a strong conviction grew within me that I was on the right track. However, I understood that no single powerful food could accomplish this entire transformation alone. This drove me to continue my quest, delving deeper into research, immersing myself in interviews with esteemed neurologists, nutritionists, and longevity experts. A consistent pattern emerged throughout my studies. Healthy fats are absolutely vital for optimal brain function. It was during this period of exploration that I discovered my second profound ally, avocado. Yes, the creamy, vibrant green fruit I had long considered a luxurious treat or reserved for special recipes revealed itself to be one of the brain's most understated yet remarkably potent protectors. Avocados are abundantly rich in monounsaturated fats, which play a crucial role in enhancing blood circulation and keeping our arteries clean and healthy. Why is this so critical for memory? Because a well-perfused brain is a brain that consistently receives the oxygen and essential nutrients it requires to perform at its peak. Avocados also provide vitamin E, a potent antioxidant, and potassium, which is vital for regulating blood pressure. Together, these elements collectively reduce the long-term risk of cognitive decline. Indeed, studies suggest that individuals who regularly include avocado in their diet may experience improved attention, concentration, and mental processing speed. I started simply by incorporating half an avocado into my diet each day. Sometimes, it would grace a slice of whole grain toast with a refreshing squeeze of lemon. On other occasions, it found its way into a fresh salad, alongside ripe tomatoes, crisp onion, and a delicate drizzle of olive oil. I even ventured into making a creamy, healthy smoothie with avocado, banana, and a touch of plant-based milk, surprisingly delicious. What truly amazed me was how quickly my own family began to notice a difference. One day, my daughter remarked, "Dad, you seem so much more alert lately, more cheerful, more focused." And my granddaughter, who used to grow visibly frustrated when I'd inevitably repeat stories, surprised me one afternoon after a lengthy tale by giving me a tight hug and exclaiming, "You remembered the whole thing." In that heartwarming moment, I knew with absolute certainty that I wasn't imagining things. A genuine, tangible difference was occurring. Avocado wasn't a miraculous panacea, but it was an undeniably powerful tool in my journey. Beyond the noticeable mental sharpness, my overall mood significantly improved. There was less irritability, fewer frustrating little forgetful moments, and a renewed desire to engage in conversation, to take leisurely walks, and to immerse myself in a good book without losing my place. And wonderfully, it doesn't have to be expensive or consumed every single day. 3 or 4 times a week can be enough, but consistency remains paramount. For what you protect today safeguards your mind tomorrow. This is how avocado, my silent protector, earned its rightful place in my daily routine. And through it, I discovered that the path to a clearer, more vibrant mind is not paved with grand, dramatic gestures, but rather with small, consistent habits that, over time, have the power to transform everything. For many years, I harbored a deep-seated apprehension about fats in my diet. I had been taught, almost universally, that anything high in fat was inherently detrimental, something to be meticulously avoided at all costs, believed to elevate cholesterol and contribute to weight gain. Consequently, for a significant period of my life, I eliminated them almost entirely from my meals. What I failed to understand then was that, in doing so, I was inadvertently starving my brain of its most fundamental fuel, the very nutrients it required to function optimally. Our brain, you see, is composed largely of fat, and to maintain its youthful vitality, sharp acuity, and a wealth of healthy neural connections, it absolutely depends on the right kinds of fats. This revelation prompted me to thoughtfully introduce the third essential food into my daily regimen: nuts. More specifically, I focused on walnuts and almonds. Walnuts, in particular, appear almost custom-designed for the mind. Not only do their unique folds eerily resemble a miniature brain, but they are also exceptionally rich in omega-3 fatty acids, a powerful array of antioxidants including vitamin E, magnesium, and polyphenols. All these compounds collaborate synergistically to safeguard our neurons, fortify the intricate synaptic connections, and enhance communication between brain cells. Almonds, while different in profile, are equally beneficial, boasting a wealth of monounsaturated fats, protein, and crucial minerals. They act like a clean-burning, sustained energy source that the brain can utilize to perform at its best, especially as one grows older. I remember my initial skepticism, wondering how such small, unassuming kernels could possibly exert such a significant influence. Yet, as the weeks turned into months, I undeniably noticed the changes. I began to recall intricate details from my childhood, precise dates, snippets of conversations with my parents, and even the distinct aroma of my grandmother's kitchen from decades ago. It wasn't that these memories had vanished entirely. It was more as if my mind could suddenly illuminate those forgotten rooms of the past, allowing me to step back in. One crisp morning, while chatting animatedly with my grandson, I effortlessly blurted out the full name of my fourth-grade teacher, a name I hadn't consciously thought of in years. Then, without a moment's hesitation, a song we used to sing in class simply flowed from my lips. It wasn't an effort. The memory simply presented itself, as if it had been patiently awaiting its summons. To me, this was a profound gift. I began incorporating a small handful of nuts into my daily diet, nothing excessive, perhaps 5 walnuts and a handful of almonds. Sometimes I'd mix them into my plain yogurt, or enjoy them as a satisfying mid-morning snack. They are wonderfully portable, require no preparation, and have bestowed upon me a clarity I honestly hadn't expected to regain at my age, and crucially, I shed my fear of the word fat. I learned that the goal isn't elimination, but informed, intelligent selection. My cholesterol levels are now better than ever, my energy has significantly improved, and that afternoon, mental fogginess that once plagued me has completely vanished. The brain doesn't crave extreme diets. It thrives on balance, nourishment, and consistency. And if this vibrant stage of my life has imparted any wisdom, it is that it is truly never too late to provide your body and your brilliant mind with precisely what they need to continue shining brightly. There's a common misconception that to embrace good health, we must forsake all pleasure, that well-being comes at the expense of enjoyment. Over time, however, I've come to understand that this simply isn't the full truth. There are certain sweet indulgences that not only delight the palate, but also genuinely nourish both our body and, surprisingly, our brain. For many years, I diligently avoided all sweets, constantly fearing the inevitable sugar spikes followed by debilitating crashes and the subsequent guilt of giving in to something I enjoyed. But then one day, while engrossed in an article about brain health in older adults, I stumbled upon a discovery that instantly captured my attention: dark chocolate. Not just any chocolate, mind you, not the kind laden with excessive milk, sugar, and countless additives. The discussion centered on dark chocolate containing at least 70% cacao, hailed as a true brain food. Pure cacao is a rich source of flavonoids, powerful antioxidants that enhance blood flow to the brain, reduce inflammation, and offer protection to our neurons against damage from oxidative stress. In essence, these compounds actively contribute to maintaining a younger, more alert, and resilient brain. Furthermore, cacao has the wonderful ability to stimulate the release of endorphins and serotonin, the body's natural feel-good chemicals that elevate our mood. It's almost as if by savoring a small, exquisite piece of quality dark chocolate, the body instinctively relaxes and the spirit noticeably lifts. And in my experience, this positive shift also helps us to remember more clearly, to remain more present, and to connect more profoundly with the world around us. I started by treating myself to just one small square after lunch, a tiny, mindful piece, no more. I allowed it to melt slowly on my tongue, savoring every rich nuance without haste. This became a cherished daily ritual, a precious moment I gifted myself. Over time, the change became palpable. I noticed less afternoon anxiety, a sharper focus when I immersed myself in reading, and a renewed enthusiasm when I sat down to record memories in my journal. But the sweetest, most poignant moment occurred one afternoon at home with my beloved grandchildren. We were enjoying a simple snack, fruit, nuts, and a few squares of dark chocolate. As we sat together on the terrace, they peppered me with questions, and I in turn found myself weaving stories. Then, without any conscious effort, I began to recite a tale my own mother had told me when I was a little boy, word for word, just as she had recounted it. I hadn't recalled that particular story in decades, yet there it was, vivid and complete, as if someone had gently shined a flashlight into a long-forgotten corner of my memory. That day, I knew I wasn't merely recovering old memories. I was actively reclaiming precious moments, forgotten emotions, and rekindling deeper connections. Of course, discernment is crucial. Not all sweets contribute to health. I rigorously avoid highly processed products overflowing with sugar. I don't drink soda or indulge in commercial pastries, but a small square of high-quality dark chocolate or even a teaspoon of pure natural honey in my tea has become an integral and treasured part of my routine. And I embrace these choices not just for their delightful taste, but because they genuinely help me to feel more alive, more clear-headed, more profoundly present. This is how I learned that pleasure and health are not adversaries. Sometimes, when chosen wisely, a touch of sweetness can indeed be a powerful healer. Throughout my long life, I've heard countless claims about exotic superfoods, miraculous supplements, and new groundbreaking diets emerging every month, all promising the elusive gifts of youth, sharper memory, and boundless energy. Yet, after so many years, I've come to a profound realization. Sometimes the most powerful and transformative things don't originate from something rare or exorbitantly priced. Often they spring from the remarkably simple, from what is readily accessible to everyone, yet frequently goes unnoticed or undervalued. This was unequivocally the case with the fifth and perhaps most potent food on my remarkable journey: water. Yes, as astonishingly simple as that sounds, water, while it might initially sound underwhelming to some, I can assure you, with absolute conviction, that once I consciously and sufficiently incorporated water into my daily life, my mind experienced a leap in clarity and function that I had never anticipated. For our brain to truly operate at its peak, it demands proper hydration. Water doesn't merely transport vital nutrients throughout the body, it actively flushes out toxins, meticulously regulates our body temperature, maintains the vibrant activity of our neuronal connections, and critically improves blood flow to the brain. Before this revelation, I was the quintessential person who only drank water when a parched throat signaled extreme thirst, a small glass here, another there. Sometimes hours would slip by unnoticed, and I'd realize I hadn't had a single drop. And predictably, by afternoon, a pervasive tiredness would set in, my concentration would waver, and words would frustratingly get stuck on my tongue. I blamed it all on the inevitable march of age. But it wasn't just age, it was the insidious effects of dehydration. So I instituted a deliberate change. Each morning, upon waking, I would begin with a large glass of water, followed by another before breakfast. Throughout the day, a small, unassuming bottle became my constant companion, and I made a conscious effort to take regular sips, even when I didn't feel acutely thirsty. It didn't take long for the difference to manifest. I began to think with remarkable clarity, to recall names almost instantaneously, and to read without the exasperating need to reread the same lines over and over again. I felt profoundly more alert, and even my mood brightened. Less confusion, reduced irritability, and a newfound eagerness to engage in conversation, to write, to learn new things. Moreover, consistent hydration remarkably amplified the positive effects of all the other foods I was consuming. Without proper hydration, our bodies struggle to efficiently absorb vital nutrients. The beneficial fats from avocado, the vitamins, the protective flavonoids from cacao, all these crucial elements required the right internal environment to work their magic, and water provided that fertile ground. I also complemented my water intake with gentle infusions like green tea or rosemary, which add their own dose of antioxidants, but the fundamental cornerstone remained immutable: clean, fresh, natural water. Sometimes, the most profoundly impactful things are the ones we simply take for granted. They may not possess a spectacular taste or market themselves as instant miracles, but without water, nothing in our magnificent bodies, and most especially in our intricate brains, can truly function optimally. Today, if you were to ask me which single food has most dramatically transformed my mental clarity, my energy, and my enduring desire to keep learning, I would tell you without a moment's hesitation, water. Because it is the foundation, it is the genesis of everything, and the most beautiful truth of all is that it is there, readily available, for you, for me, for every single one of us. When I initially embarked on this journey, my sole objective was to reclaim my memory, to recall names effortlessly, to never again misplace my keys, to confidently follow a conversation from beginning to end without losing my way. However, what unfolded was far more profound, far more transformative than I could have ever envisioned. These foods didn't merely awaken my mind, they rekindled something deep within me that had laid dormant for too long. Firstly, I noticed a significant shift in my mood. There were mornings when I would awaken feeling utterly disinclined to leave my bed, drained of energy, as if each new day were simply a colorless repeat of the last. Yet, gradually, I began to feel more uplifted, more intensely curious about the world. I woke with a novel kind of energy, that small, vibrant spark one feels when there's something meaningful to do, something new to discover. The pervasive mental fatigue also began to recede. Before, after a short period of reading or catching up on the news, my head would feel heavy, as if my mind tired far more quickly than my body. That too changed. I found myself engrossed in entire books once more, without the frustrating need to reread every paragraph. I began to write in my journal again, my thoughts flowing freely and effortlessly onto the page. And my sleep? What a wonder it became. For a period I suffered from terrible sleep, waking countless times throughout the night, struggling to drift back into slumber, only to rise in the morning more exhausted than when I had retired. But after consistently improving my diet, ensuring proper hydration, and integrating these nutrient-rich foods, my rest progressively improved. It wasn't an immediate change, but it was steady and deeply felt. Now, I sleep more profoundly, more peacefully, and wake up feeling truly refreshed and renewed. Moreover, the stress and anxiety that sometimes inexplicably accompanied me began to gently recede. They didn't vanish entirely, of course. I am still human. But they no longer held dominion over my days. I feel a greater sense of balance, a profound inner peace. And the most beautiful aspect of this entire transformation is that I reconnected with the world around me. I started to participate more vibrantly in conversations, to take a renewed, genuine interest in current events, to recall details, and to share with others without the looming fear of stumbling over my words. I even summoned the courage to learn new things. Not long ago, I enrolled in a short online history course, and I devoured every lesson with the enthusiasm of a child. Memory was indeed the initial catalyst, but the benefits have extended far beyond simple recollection. Because when you tenderly care for your mind, you nourish your very spirit. You open yourself fully to the present moment, and you truly begin to live again. And that, at any stage of life, is an incomparable gift. At 85 years old, I had truly believed my days of lucidity were slowly but surely drawing to a close. I convinced myself it was simply normal to forget names, to lose the thread of a conversation, or to stand silently in a room, utterly unable to recall why I had entered it. I tragically accepted it as the inevitable prelude to the end, believing that my mind, much like my aging body, was destined to gradually fade. But what I profoundly failed to understand then, what I can now attest to with conviction, is that it can, indeed, ignite again. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It wasn't some sort of magic, but it was, and remains, absolutely real. At first, my memory only extended to simple things, like remembering what I'd eaten for lunch. Then, I found words coming to me more effortlessly, ideas connecting without conscious struggle, and conversations flowing smoothly. One day, I genuinely surprised myself by completing an entire crossword puzzle without a single aid. Another memorable day, I effortlessly recalled an old friend's phone number, a number I hadn't seen written down in years. And the most beautiful part of this entire journey wasn't just the recovery of my memory, but the profound reclamation of my confidence. I started to feel truly alive again, brimming with eagerness to learn, to read, to engage in long, spirited discussions with my grandchildren, to laugh freely without forgetting the joke, to share treasured anecdotes without losing my train of thought, and to meticulously write my memoirs with newfound clarity and immense pride. And to think, it all began with something profoundly simple, thoughtfully changing what I put on my plate. I'm not advocating for a miraculous diet, nor am I unveiling magical secrets or instant solutions. What I discovered was a pathway, a journey paved with real, wholesome foods, unwavering consistency, plenty of water, insatiable curiosity, and a deep, unyielding desire never to give up. Because that, my friends, is the most crucial lesson of all: never giving up. If you too have noticed yourself struggling with recall, if your mind sometimes feels cloudy or slower than it once did, please do not accept it as an inescapable fate. Start with just one small change, one you know you can genuinely commit to. Add one good food to your daily intake. Drink more water. Allow your magnificent brain to breathe again. I embarked on this journey at 85. And if you are 60, 70, 90, or even beyond, you absolutely can too. What I learned is that it is truly never too late to awaken the mind, never too late to cherish yourself, to regain clarity, and to feel that vibrant spark once again. We may not be the same individuals we were at 20, but we can certainly feel alive, alert, and profoundly present once more. My story is not unique. It is a testament to what is possible, and that possibility is waiting for you too. I look forward to sharing more insights with you in the future.